Hello, crafty friends. It's Jessica here, and welcome back to Jessie Kate Creates. Today's video, I have a project share for you guys of 3 cards I made using some of the items from the Spellbinders Cuckoo Cottage collection that came out recently. So I have Cuckoo Cottage, I have the Halloween add-on, which is Halloween TikTok, and the Christmas add-on, which is Chiming Christmas. There's also a fall add-on. I don't have that one, but I do want to take a second to say thank you to Spellbinders for gifting me these dies. Anytime you see me use an item that has a little green dot on it, that means it was a gifted product. So thank you, Spellbinders, for gifting me these items. Okay, so we're going to start with the base die in this collection, which is Cuckoo Cottage. And it is so cool, you guys. It cuts out all the pieces you need to make a cuckoo clock, as you see here. And the coolest thing about this is that you can assemble it so that that pendulum actually swings on the card. On all 3 of the cards I made, I did make them so that the pendulum swings, which I think is just a really fun thing to do on a card. Now for this collection, I would say definitely if you end up picking it up, make sure you print off the assembly guide. There are a lot of small pieces here, and the guide just makes it really easy for you to see what everything is, how it works, what it's supposed to do. So I found myself referencing this card often when I was making this card. So the first card I made just using this die. And here is the card. Dun, da, da. I'm so happy with how this turned out. And as you can see, that pendulum actually swings and moves back and forth, which is so cool. So let me show you this up close, and then we'll talk about everything I used to make this. I will say this is one of those die sets where I think the more you use it, the better you get at making it. So for this first card, I wanted to keep it relatively simple, just because, like I said, there are a lot of parts and I wanted to figure out, like, what is this thing? What does this do? What does this cut? All that stuff. So I went with a super simple color scheme. Also, I looked up cuckoo clocks before I made this, and I saw so many photos of just beautiful, like, classic cuckoo clocks, and most of them were like made of just gorgeous wood. And so I kind of wanted to lean into that vibe. So I went with a very neutral color scheme. So for the base of the clock, I used Fawn. For a lot of the smaller accents on this card, I used Truffle. I also used Truffle for the little townspeople on the card. For some of the other accents and for the clock, I went with Alabaster. And for all of those colors, I did do a little bit of like inking on them, just to add a little bit more interest and dimension. So like you can see it really well on the edge of the clock. You can see that I inked the edges just to really make them pop. I inked the base layer of the house. I inked the trim, just a lot of those little details to make them really pop. This was a lot of brown on the card, and I liked that, but I was like, I want it to still feel relatively neutral, but I do want to bring a little bit of color in. So I used Fern and Terra, which still feels kind of neutral-ish to me. Like, you get a little bit of color, but it's not like intense or bright or anything like that. And I just used it on the townspeople, a little bit on the trim, behind the windows, and also on our dove's mouth. And then for the dove itself, I did use some classic white. So that's the only actual white on this card. Everything else is alabaster. And then I also brought in some mirror gold for the pendulum. And yeah, I liked the way that worked. So I made the cottage first, and then I was like, okay, what background am I going to put this on? Because there's so much interesting things to look at on the clock itself. I didn't want the background to be too distracting, so I kept it pretty simple. I used a panel of alabaster cardstock, and you can see I inked the edges, and I did that using distress inks in antique linen and vintage photo, just on the edges to add a little bit of dimension. And then I ran that background through the falling leaves embossing folder. I use this on the pumpkin card too. Usually if there's an item I'm liking, I'll keep it on my desk and I find myself using it repeatedly for a while. So that's why sometimes you see me reuse the same items over and over because I have them and I'm enjoying them. So I just keep using them. So yeah, that was this card. And I was really happy with how this turned out. I just loved the way that this worked. So that was card number 1. Once I made this first card, I kind of started to feel like, okay, now I really kind of understand how this die works. And now I can like play around with it a little bit more and have a little bit more fun with some of the pieces I use. Next, I moved on to using the add-ons. So the 2 add-ons I have, like I said, are the Halloween TikTok and Chiming Christmas. And these just give you Halloween and Christmas themed accents that you can add on to your cuckoo clock. So let's start with Christmas because that was the next card I made because I just thought these little Christmas elements were so cute. You know, it has like a penguin, a snowman, a tree, ornaments, some little deer, things like that that you can use to adorn your cuckoo clock. Again, I printed out the assembly guide and I did reference this quite a few times. It's just really useful to have on hand so that you don't have to like guess, what is this supposed to be? What is this supposed to be? I just look until I figure out what it is, and so that is very helpful. Okay, so for Chiming Christmas, I had a little bit more fun with the color scheme on this card. And very happy with how this turned out. So still very Christmassy, but I wanted it to lean a little bit more. I wanted it to lean a little bit more into the pastels and whatnot with this card. I used for the background of the card, or the base, I should say, of the cuckoo clock, I used blush. For some of the trim accents, I used Seaside. And then as accent colors, I used Rainforest, Poppy, Carrot, and Beeswax. And the carrot and beeswax were mainly like for like, you know, the nose of the snowman and the beak of the penguin. But they were some of the colors that I used, so I wanted to show them here. So you can kind of see all that. Now, something I did to this card to really take it to the next level, I don't know if the camera is picking it up very well, but I added a whole bunch of glitter on this. Anywhere I thought there might be snow, I added glitter. So in the die set, you'll see there are these pieces that cut out snow for the roof of the cuckoo clock, and I covered that in glitter. I covered the top of the clock in glitter. I put some glitter on the windowsills. I put glitter on the tree, on the little edge they're standing on the ornaments. I just went to town adding glitter to this card. Because, I mean, again, it's a holiday card. You have to add the glitter. It just works so well. So for that, I just used the Distress Rock Candy glitter. I don't use glitter a ton throughout the year, but when it comes to Christmas cards, I do find myself using glitter a lot. And personally, I love a good true white glitter. I feel like sometimes you get glitters and they're like pinky, like it's white, but it has like a pinkish green chrome to it. And I like just a pure white glitter. So that's what I used here. Now there is a lot of dimension here. I did pop a lot of things up, and you kind of have to in order to make it so that the pendulum will swing on your card. But yeah, I like the way this worked. Again, because the cuckoo clock has so much going on, I felt like I didn't need to do a lot for the background. So for this one, I kept the background white, and I just pulled in this Argyle Plaid 3D embossing folder to add a little texture to the background. Now I will say, because this is a 3D background and it's raised more, I think the pendulum doesn't, I mean, it swings, but not as quite as well as it does on this card where I just used a traditional 2D folder and it swings a lot easier. Whereas on this one, it's a little bit harder, and I wonder if it's because of that. I don't know, but that's just what I'm kind of suspecting. So there we have it. That is card number 2. And now we're going to move on to card number 3, which y'all, it is my favorite card that I made with this collection, but also I think it might be my favorite card that I've made so far this year. So also, I will say, if you're following me on Instagram, you've already seen this card, and this card was also the fan favorite on Instagram as well. Lastly, we have the card I made using the Halloween TikTok add-on, which has it has a little spider for the pendulum, bats, some cats, some ghosts, a skull, a little mummy. So cute. And it also has little pieces so you can turn the townspeople into like a witch. So here it is. The last card I made, and quite easily my favorite card of the year so far, is this Halloween themed cuckoo clock. I just can't get over how well this card turned out. And this was a lot of it took me a while. I tried a lot of different things until I got to this particular setup on this card. But I'm really happy I tried all those things because this turned out so well. So for this card, I used lilac as the base of the house. For the greens, I used pear dough. For the oranges, I used persimmon. I will say, persimmon is a retired color that's not available anymore. It's just a little bit lighter than carrot, so you could always just use carrot instead if you wanted a similar vibe. You can see they're very close, but I have persimmon in my stash, so I was going to use it. I went with this, purple, green, orange because it's very classic Halloween, and so that's what I wanted to stick with. And then you can see there's also some white that I brought in as well. And lastly, for this particular card, I wanted the black. I didn't want just plain black. So I used some glossy cardstock. This is from scrapbook.com. And this pack just has white gloss and black gloss cardstock, which is what I used for all of the black accents on this card. And I love how this turned out. I will say with this card too, a lot of the elements I did inking on to make them really stand out and to make them really pop on the card. So like the windows here, I cut them out of that orange, and then I blended on some dark orange cardstock, and I also blended on a little bit of purple, which I think just kind of toned the orange down a little bit. I blended purple ink on the base of the house. I blended orange on the pumpkin. You can see I blended purple on the skirt of the witch and also on the edges of the stand. The white, oh, I'm sorry, I hit the camera, so you're shaking. The white has some gray ink blending on the edge of it. I was having so much fun when I made this card. I think of all the cards, this is probably the one I spent the most time on, but I was just having so much fun making all of the different little elements that I didn't even care how long it took me to make this card. Something else I had a lot of fun with, since I kind of understood how all the dies worked, I wanted a zombie on this card, right? And so in the base set, you can cut out these little townspeople, where's the other card? Here, you see the townspeople? So the Halloween set has some little, like a witch's hat and whatnot, so you can turn her into a little witch. I hope you guys can see here. It's the same character, the same woman. It's just this one, she's wearing a witch's hat and holding a broom instead of wearing a regular hat, right? So for the zombie, I was like, well, I'm just gonna take this dude. I'm not gonna give him any hair. I just drew in some squiggles that were supposed to represent brains. And then you can see I really went in and just kind of tore up and grunged up his outfit to make him look a little bit more zombie-like. Also, to make these look more like Halloween characters, instead of making them a natural skin tone, I made them all green. You can see here I did ink blending on the edges of all of the green to make that pop as well. I just really loved the way that this particular card turned out. I'm very, very, very happy with it. So there we go. Now I will say, when I posted this card on Instagram, I had a lot of people ask about how I made these backgrounds. So coming soon, I will have a video where I make more of these backgrounds. I use the images from the Halloween add-on set to make cards without using the cuckoo clock. And I'm using these as the backgrounds on those cards. And in that video, I show you how I make those backgrounds. So if you want to see how I make backgrounds like this, be sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you can see that when I post it. But so there you have it. Those are 3 cards I made using the Cuckoo Clock collection from Spellbinders. Like I said, the Halloween one is definitely my personal favorite. Let me know in the comments down below which one of these is your favorite. And thank you guys so much for taking the time to hang out with me today and watch this video. If you enjoyed it, please do me a huge favor and give the video a thumbs up. That helps me so much with the YouTube algorithm, and it helps other people to find my channel and join our crafty community. And if you want to see all the videos that I put out throughout the year, then be sure to subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell so that you get notified when I post new videos. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in another video soon. Bye!